Chapter 11. Visit to Venta. The 6th dark day of Edrin, 819. 50 days until Sown. We begin our trek north, well after sunrise. Fiegel shambles along behind me, incurious of his surroundings. We reach the crossing of a woodsman's path with the road. There's nothing physically wrong with him, but he tires fast. "Uncle, where are we going?" he asks. "I don't know," I sigh. We stop in the middle of the road. Where can I find an orchid that is so rare that most druids are unaware that it even exists? I don't know anything about plants, but the sigil for Venta was written in the dust back at the keep. Yes, but what does that mean? Is that where the Obsidian Lord rode off to yesterday? Do we want to go where he is going to be? Fiegel drops to the ground and sits cross-legged. I'm going to get comfortable while you try to make up your mind. Belenos is rising even higher in the sky, and standing in the middle of a crossing achieves nothing. Can you get us to Venta? Yes, Uncle. We continue north until we hit the Lundingen Road. We go toward the rising sun from there. Then we have our plan. After Venta, I must go north to warn the Plains Druids that the Dark Lord is preparing for war. It was my duty. What will I do if I can't find another ghost orchid? I will be cast out of the Druids. What will I do? Become a labourer on my brother's farm? I can't be a simple farmer. There is nothing wrong with a farmer's life, Fiegel says. I see you have recovered your ability to enter my mind uninvited. In truth, I think it is a good sign. I give Fiegel my hand to pull him up, but Fiegel releases it and collapses into a fetal position. He cradles his head, puffing his cheeks as if he's in pain. Fiegel! I scan for threats, but the road is clear. He shakes his head and extends his arm upward to me. Didn't you feel that? I stare at him blankly. Some very powerful person is flailing around in the mental spaces, screaming out for another. Fiegel massages his temples. I told you how Mother and I can sense how each other is feeling, even when we're far away. She was searching for me since I was attacked by the limping man. It wasn't until this morning that I could make contact with her. So this wasn't your mother, then? No, I recognize Mother's gentle touch. This person possesses undeniable strength and is unconcerned about how it affects others. The Obsidian Mage? I ask. Who else could it be? He is probably trying to re-establish a link with the limping man. Perhaps we should get off the road. There's a thicket of hemlock bushes close to the road. There is a cloud of dust to the north. We get deep in the bushes and wait to see who is galloping south on the road. The huge grey steed from the stalls mounts the hill. It must be the Obsidian Mage leading the way. Decked in all black, his scabbard gleams brilliant silver. A shiny black stone adorns the pommel. That's one of Father's blades, Fiegel says. The obsidian took forever to be mounted. 8 men and a druidess follow behind him. Treacherous whore. She has betrayed her own kind. I take a step forward, wanting to confront her, but Fiegel holds me back. You heard the limping man, Fiegel says. They have overwhelmed her mind. She can't help it. The limping man may have controlled my body, but never did I surrender my mind. I know he's right, but it still infuriates me. Where were they, and what were they doing? I demand. Maybe he was searching for another flower, Fiegel says, since the only flower we found was turned to stone. I chuckle. I hope you're right, because I have no idea where else to search for the stupid flower. Do you think they found another orchid, or are they rushing back because he couldn't contact the limping man? Only one way to find out. Greetings, gatekeeper, I yell. Venta's hill fort is up a steep incline, and the heat is sweltering, at least to me. State your name and come no closer. Fiegel and I look at each other, confused. I am Grami, a questing druid from the west. This is my nephew. Despite his order, we close the distance to the city gate. We've not had a druid in these parts for 2 years. Now we get 2 in 2 days. How do I know you're actually a druid? There is a woodpecker off to my left. I can't see it, but I call it forth anyway as I lift up my arm. A mottled brown and white bird with a bright red head flies over and lands on my arm. It is a juvenile green woodpecker, I say to Fiegel. It will lose the brown feathers, the breast will become bright white, and the wings will turn green, like moss. I thank the bird and send it back to the forest. Pardon my tone, but I wanted to be sure you weren't a fraud. It does you credit to be cautious, I say. Tell me, what did my fellow druid want? It was not a druid, but a druidess. I feign surprise. Lonely gatekeepers are easy to befriend. I would be well pleased if you could tell me why my peer was here. But first, please, give me your name. I give him a head nod as a sign of respect. I am called Lauga, and I have watched this gate for 12 years. Never have I had anyone ask where the elven graves could be found. As a rule, men leave them alone. But she wished to harvest whatever elven tears she and her party could find. Just this morning, she and her group left without even a thanks. Elven tears? Aye, it is a small flower that only grows in deep shade near elven burial mounds. We see our share, since we have 4 mounds inside our walls and another 7 outside. Can you show me these mounds? Lauga is uneasy. I can't be leaving my post. I will be glad to keep watch while you 2 visit the tombs, Fiegel says. He gives me a wink. Come this way then, Lauga says happily. He limps due to his left foot being turned outward from his body. I hope whoever tried to heal your leg decided to become a butcher rather than a healer. Funny you should say that. The man was my father, and he was the town's butcher. But that was long ago. I can get by well enough. At least you can be thankful for that. There are never any elven tears within our village. The trees have long since been cut down. But I will take you to the tombs outside the walls, so that you can see what yesterday's party was interested in. The inner gate opens onto the village, and the bold barrows of elven warriors fill the enclosed grassy area in the centre of their town. Have these tombs been left undisturbed? They have, but no elven tears grow near these anymore. We pass a wooden statue of Brigantia, surrounded by votive offerings. Do they think they can buy the goodwill of a goddess? This is our shrine to Brigantia, Lauga says proudly. There are many offerings. Do you not send them to the bottom of the river? Why would we do that? The offerings are made when Anya refuses to climb into the sky. Once she has regained her full glory, the offerings are taken back until the next time. The gifts are not permanent. If Brigantia requires them, she will take what she wishes. What's left is for our own use. Has the goddess ever taken an offering? No. This is how we know that she showers goodwill upon us. Or she will have nothing to do with you. I must tell Boswin of this when I return. When the Widgester invaded the eastern lands, they brought this habit of building statues to the gods. That it has travelled this far west is concerning. The old ways are being forgotten. We reach the far side of the hill fort and the west gate. A stout oaken door is hidden within the rampart. Lauga turns his key, and the door opens to the remnants of a forest. I come out here in the morning and search for mushrooms before the main gate is opened. There are 4 shaded mounds below the entrance. Lauga scampers down the dirt path to the mound farthest from the city. It was over there, in the deep shadows. I saw a single elven tears flower yesterday. He points to a hole in the ground. By my reckoning, this is grave theft. What use is such a small flower? In truth, I do not know. I only know that I must bring one back to my master. My shoulders sag. It seems I've failed. Poor Lauger understands little of you forest folk, but you have been more than kind to me. For this reason, I will share with you the location of a much larger elven cemetery. Perhaps you will find your flower there. It is a good walk, 5 leagues from here, and off the main road to boot. I grab his hand tightly, too tightly. I will be in your debt, Lauger, I say, with a grateful smile. The Flower Down Cemetery is the largest of its kind in these parts. If there are any more elven tears, that would be the place. Flower Down? The female druid must have known of its existence too. Those sigils drawn on her table, they meant Flower Down, not Orchid Below. I hit my forehead for being so stupid. Lauger gives me a curious look. Did the druidess ask of Flower Down? I ask urgently. She demanded directions from me, but I played dumb. I did not care for her tone. She sounded hollow. He gives me a questioning look. Did I do right? The barrows atop the Flower Down ridge are easy to spot in the light of the setting sun. Each barrow resembles an upturned green bowl from a distance. Once we arrive within the burial grounds, we find more than 20 barrows. The trees along the edge of the ridge were once the northern boundary of the Arden. Now they are a dwindling reminder of better days. There are many trees beyond, but they are young and supple still, not like the commanding exemplars of the south. Why do only some of the mounds have a small ditch and rampart around them? Fiegel asks. I suspect no one alive today knows that answer. When the elves return in our future lives, we can ask them. Fiegel meanders around the graves. I make for the forest's edge. There is a stately oak whose thick branches leave much of the ground in shadow. It had been split early in its life, which is why it still stands. If I were an elf, I would stand under this tree to mourn the fallen. Only the oak has a chance of outliving an elf, as the saying goes. I change into a squirrel and run up the tree. Uncle, are these the silly flowers you're seeking? Fiegel is in the deepest shadows of the forest, where scarcely any light penetrates. I dash from limb to limb until I'm over the top of my nephew. I run down the tree and transform as soon as my feet touch the ground. Thank the nameless gods of the elves. 5 delicate yellow and pink flowers have emerged from 5 even less substantial stems. How could you see these in such darkness? I don't know. I looked down and there they were. They aren't very impressive, are they? The elves are an understated race. They were never ones to flaunt themselves like the giants, or at least that's what the ballads claim. I cut the flowers even with the ground using my bone knife. I can make you a real bladed knife with a leather grip so that you don't have to touch the metal, Fiegel offers. It's not as if I would break out with infections if I touch iron. This bone knife came from nature, and it will go back to nature. I cut the last stem, and it performs rather well. Why didn't you dig them up like the Black Lord did? As a druid, I seek to do as little as possible to disturb nature. And, with any luck, no trace of them will be found if the obsidian mage and his druid come searching here.